So good morning everyone, my name's KStaples, Head of Safer Communities CIC. Today I'm going to present to you the strategic situation of the CIC, primarily its strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. The aim of this is to inform you of our current position in order to inform our decision making when writing our new strategy for 2014 to 2019. So a little bit on Safer Communities before we start. Safer Communities Interest Company began as an idea when Staffordshire Fire and Rescue Service worked with fire support to build 10 brand new fire stations across Staffordshire. The formation of a CIC was seen as a great opportunity to enhance our partnership and community work in order to prevent fires from happening in the first place. Groundwork West Midlands are also part of the team due to their great reputation for working with people to improve local areas. We realise that many issues contribute to people becoming less safe, such as health, isolation, lifestyle and economic deprivation. And we want to be involved in those areas that support people and stop fires from happening in the first place. We know that by working together and working with our communities, we can make a difference. Today we boast several projects, including the Street Stadia unit, which is used as a youth diversion tool during the summer months. We also have community facilities on the new fire stations which are used by community groups who need them most. And we also have a Tamworth sensory garden which is used by a disability group in Tamworth that focuses on healthy eating. We've also got the Imminent Team programme run by Prince's Trust that we'll be working in partnership to deliver. Our income last year was 27,000 and our assets are currently at 66,000. The vision is that Staffordshire's communities are safe and thrive, and our mission is to work with partners to develop active citizenship and support initiatives through social enterprise that will help Staffordshire to be safer. The company has values to be creative when developing initiatives, to always involve members of the community that are directly affected by our services, to forge strong partnerships with other organisations so our work is as valuable as possible, to be open, honest and trustworthy, and to never give up on individuals until they are safe. And finally, before we go into the presentation, I'll keep on going back and not forward. There we go. Our objectives currently, which will be revisited as part of this strategy. They're to support Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire Fire and Rescue Service in making Staffordshire the safest place to be, and to support cross-sector organisations in delivering benefits to the community. To develop the business methodology in order to access grants and other funding for projects and initiatives, and to promote the active use of facilities within the community fire stations. So first I'm going to look at the internal environment, and by that I mean the resources and the competencies. We've got physical resources, including the community fire stations, the kitchens, the gyms, the partnership desk spaces, and we've also got the equipment that belongs to the CIC, such as the garden and the Street Stadia unit. However, perhaps more important are the human resources of the company. People who can engage to communicate safety messages, act as positive role models and deliver training courses and conduct a wide range of activities. We also have requirements for our resources. We require an increased number of volunteers. We need an increased skill in leadership and third sector knowledge, and also a wider portfolio of projects we deliver or support. Competencies. We have many competencies in safer communities. I think the main ones that set us apart from other CICs and other competitors in the market are our affiliation with the fire service. It gives us an advantage when tackling community safety because we have an access to a large workforce who are committed to making our communities safer. But we also are affiliated with them and they have a strong and trusted brand within our communities. We also have the access to the training facilities and qualified trainers who specialise in breathing apparatus. and this is an excellent opportunity for us to raise capital through the CIC that can be reinvested into the community. Our knowledge in risk reduction is extensive. Our staff come from fire service backgrounds, but also have qualifications in managing community safety that doesn't just focus on fire safety, but ageing populations, road safety, young people and crime. This specialist knowledge that I and the team possess will give us a great start in becoming a successful company. Other competencies include our network and partnership skills. Fire support offer financial and business skills, and groundwork have expertise in the volunteering sector and bid writing. And the board are passionate, determined and committed to making our communities the safest in the country. So next I'm going to look at the pestle analysis. I also looked at the Porter's 5 forces, but I felt that this one was a bit more relevant to bring to you today. I'm going to go the right way on the slides. Yes. Right. So the pestle analysis, it looks at 6 areas, so it gives us as a company a really good view of how the different environmental factors influence where we are. It looks at political, economic, social, technological, legal and environmental drivers. So I'll just run through and give you a bit of background why I've picked these ones as the main ones that affect CIC. The big society is a big theme at the moment. It gives more power to communities, but also one of its themes is to support social enterprise. So it's a big on the government agenda at the moment. The Localism Act gives emphasis to small local activity as opposed to those on a national and global scale. So that puts us in a good position because it means that we are more favourable to win bids that affect our local communities as opposed to those on maybe a larger scale. We've also got the Fire and Rescue Service Act, and I've put this in because the fire service has a responsibility to promote fire safety in its community. We're not there to replace all of the services, but we need to ensure that we work together so we can determine what we can deliver in line with the Act. The economic factors, obviously you've got the public sector cutbacks, but also the economic downturn has had a big effect on people that live in Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent. More people are vulnerable and therefore less safe, and these are the people that we want to target. Another economic driver is the inequalities between local areas, and we need to ensure that when we're designing products we consult statistics so we're aiming and targeting in the right areas. Social, we've got people that are increasing focus on well-being and less on the importance of money and material things. People are generally getting more involved in social activity within their local area, and we need to capitalise on this trend to create self-sustainable activities. There are also changing attitudes towards participation, especially among young people. We need to ensure that we promote volunteering in a way that appeals to people and be flexible in our approach. For example, young people could work on street staging and volunteer their time during the summer holidays and dip in and out as they wish. The public perception of threat and risk is changing. People feel more at threat from crime, however levels are decreasing. And finally, the ageing population. Staffordshire has one of the largest in the UK, and we know that our fires are injuring and killing people that are older but also live alone. Technological, people expect to access information 24/7 and are increasing the ways in which they access this information. We need to utilise this opportunity to reach people via technology. And this could be done in the form of being able to book community rooms online, or to having mobile applications where people could do their home safety check and be prompted by their mobile phones. We must also increase our activity via social media and understand it more, like Twitter and Facebook. However, we must also ensure that we don't isolate people that don't use the internet. Legal requirements on the CIC, such as the CIC legal framework, health and safety legislation and employment regulations, means the board need to be compliant and up to date with changes that may pose a risk. And finally, environmental factors. Climate change means that droughts, snowy weather conditions, flooding are going to become more severe. And we need to look at opportunities how we can use our community fire stations to assist with these severe weather conditions. And we also have corporate responsibility to be aware of the impact that we have on the environment. So that's the external and internal environment. So hopefully you'll be able to see a link of where I've drawn up our strengths, weaknesses, opportunity and threats, and how I've taken into account the environment. So our strengths. We're affiliated with Staffordshire Fire and Rescue Service, Fire Support and Groundwork West Midlands, all well-known organisations and brands which are trusted by the community and will also benefit our reputation. We've got a good reputation for high quality services which are original and innovative, such as the community rooms. The hours are also increasing, and we also have 12 new fire stations being built. We have excellent knowledge in community safety and have a sound knowledge of the issues that our communities currently face, but also a good knowledge of what they will do in the future. Our board members and staff are well qualified and committed to the success of the company, and the income generated from fire support and the Kia PFI contracts gives the CIC a unique stability and steady income. We have good relationships with other bodies within the county and city, and these include third public and private organisations. And the social enterprise model allows access to funding and grants which would not have usually been able to be accessed by the public sector alone. Our weaknesses. Safe communities have not committed to tackle one specific area. As you saw by the objectives, they're very broad, and this needs to be addressed in the strategy by creating smart objectives. If we don't do that, this could result in a lack of direction and may result in a range of services that don't marry. Limited resources, such as the number of team members, may result in missed business and funding opportunities. And also staff within Staffordshire Fire and Rescue Service have little understanding about what the CIC is and what it can achieve. Safe communities have a strong skill set in the public sector, but may lack experience and knowledge in the third sector. And the Safer CIC brand is a new business model which exposes the stakeholders to a competitive market, which also must be considered. Our opportunities. Staffordshire Fire and Rescue Service are developing a new volunteering strategy. This is something that the CIC has a great opportunity to feed into and will increase our numbers and volunteer effectiveness on our projects. We've got a tried successful model of selling training courses, which will open up further opportunities to increase assets, and also the team programme confirmation and the appointment of the new team leader. This results in the potential for assets to also be locked and will replace existing youth systems. Sorry about that. There we go, sorry. And then we can reinvest the profits made into the community. We've got the 12 new fire stations being built, which will all have community rooms and will give us more potential and opportunities to connect with community groups across the county. Opportunities to form new partnerships, and also to work closely with Staffordshire Fire and Rescue Service to replace the threatened services. And finally, the threats. Changing law and government policies relating to CICs pose a threat. Lack of funding opportunities resulting in not being able to fulfil the strategy. Competition from other organisations, for example Stoke College, in delivering the team programme. We need to be aware and also maybe forge partnerships with these people. Also competitors designing services that are more successful than ours. A lack of buy-in from the community resulting in unsustainable services. A potential for duplication of services as a threat. And also being limited in the activities that are available for safer communities because of resilience from operational staff and unions. And finally, failure to design products and services that are relevant to our most vulnerable in our communities. So the strategy 2014 to 19 will consider all of the points raised, and I'd like to develop a delivery plan which has SMART objectives and also owners of each of the goals. At the end, I want to review the missions, values and objectives so they are relevant today. And I want input and approval from the Delivery and Management Board in September 2014 so we can get started. So, that is the end of the presentation, and I've got a few minutes for questions. Thank you very much for listening. Dean?
Question, Kate? Thanks for that. In terms of the last slide, which was the strategy that you just put up, I agree with your observation about SMART objectives, and I think we are too general, so I think it's really valuable that we pick up on that point. So I guess my question is in two parts. One is, what's your thinking around how we develop SMART objectives? And the second thing, it links to the last bullet point, it is about the input and approval of the broader management board, including our elected members. So in two parts, how do you propose to go about developing SMART objectives, and what's your views on how we involve a much broader group of people, including political members, to develop the strategy?
I think when thinking about your question about the SMART objectives, we know by working with the fire service where our threats are, what our target audience is, and we obviously need to consult statistics. And I think once we draw up an idea about where we are going to focus, and we need a focus, we need to think about how we want to do that. Do we want to spend the next 5 years focusing on increasing our ability to sell things and therefore reinvest, or do we want to work with partners? So I think in terms of involving the delivery board, that's a key thing. I think it'd be really valuable to maybe have a brainstorming session in our next meeting. Obviously giving people a bit of direction in where we want to take things by looking at the strengths and opportunities and weaknesses. Obviously SMART objectives are measurable, so we need to add target numbers. So for example, if one of our objectives was to increase our volunteering numbers, how many do we want to increase them by, and what do we want it to look like? Obviously things aren't going to happen quickly, so we need to give things also a time. Has that answered your question?
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Is anyone else? Sharon?
On your threats, on your presentation for your SWOT analysis, your last point states failure to develop projects which are targeted at the most vulnerable. What I wanted to know is, obviously you're reinvesting money that has been generated in whatever way. How are you going to measure and determine the social value and the return on that? And who are you going to target? The most vulnerable, the vulnerable? What's going to get the best value for us as an for Staffordshire Fire and Rescue Service, the reduction of at risk to fire? Especially, and I'm sorry to add this, you said that you were looking at media and internet communications and those areas. Aren't those most vulnerable unlikely to be able to access those services through that avenue? So it's a 2-point. How are you going to determine who you're going to target? How are you going to measure that? And how are you going to ensure that those that perhaps can't be included through internet marketing, how are you going to target them?
So in terms of determining who our target audience is, I mean, obviously our customers are the whole of Staffordshire, and we don't want to be exclusive. However, in order to get most social value, it makes sense to have a target audience. So we may design products that specifically look at vulnerability, isolated old people, or young people, such NEETs, who the Prince's Trust target. So I don't want to exclude people from the projects that the community interest company design, but I do think that maybe we need to consider old people and young people as our key audience. In terms of making people, making sure that people aren't excluded, I take your point. People, older generations aren't using the internet as much as young people, but we can access through strong networks and partnerships those people. So the fire service have got the Olive Branch programme where we train social workers who can spread our messages. The community facilities are a great tool, and I think we need to utilise those more. We've got a number of partners and community groups using them, and each one of those community members go back home and they have neighbours who we can perhaps target. So we need to look at how we can utilise people like that can also spread our messages.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. James, last question.
On the last slide that you had, it talks about the resistance from operational staff and unions being an issue. How do you move that forward? How do we get them to deliver the programmes, or how do we include them and get them to want to be part of it, but also taking into account that they might not want to be part of it?
I think that the key thing is increasing people's awareness of what the CIC actually is. So I think that it's natural for people to be scared about replacing services, and maybe we need to be careful about the words that we use. We're not here to replace services, but we're here to almost increase and broaden the projects that the fire service offer through the CIC. So I think that needs to form part of the delivery plan and needs to be a priority, is increasing awareness of what the CIC actually is and what its capabilities are among fire service staff and the unions, so we can help overcome that issue. So thank you very much for coming. I hope you found that useful.